Welcome to Hochoka Podcast.
What does it mean to be 13? Backstage adults, watching on tiptoe, waiting to go on stage. Some years ago, Time magazine reporter Nancy Gibbs asked that question. Today, we talk with someone who spends every day in a middle school classroom. Let's hear what he has to say about this unique stage of life. Hello, Midaki Api. Welcome to Hochoka, here at the center of St. Joseph's Indian Schools campus. I'm Scott Wooster, your Hochoka host. We're glad you joined our circle with Gabe Dannenbring, a Minnesota State University Moorhead graduate who has become a viral TikTok star through videos and stories about life as a middle school teacher in Sioux Falls. Part educator, part influencer, he is here today to share his experience and give us a lesson in language more difficult to learn than Lakota, middle school speak. Gabe, thank you for being here at Hochoka.
Scott, thank you so much for having me. And yes, the middle school speak is very complex nowadays.
It certainly is.
Today's slang with students is almost as if they're speaking in riddles, and it doesn't make any sense to me, and I hear it every single day.
Right, exactly, yeah. So you're here on campus today at sharing your wisdom with our staff here who do work with those middle school students. Our primary audience for this show is educators and parents of the students that go to our school here. So we want to share this wisdom with them a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about what journey it was that brought you here today, your lifelong journey?
Yeah, so it's... So I'll start in 1998 when I was born. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. We'll go all the way back.
So the message that I gave today was about rediscovering education. So I'll start at the end and then kind of work my way back. So it's all about rediscovering education. And what does it mean to be an educator nowadays, whether you're a classroom teacher, whether you are a parent, or whether you're just a wise person living in the neighborhood and educating students. So everybody's an educator in their own different way. What led me to being here is a lot of good luck, which is great. So I accidentally kind of fell into this social media world where one day I made a video and I thought it was relatively funny. I thought it was kind of cute. And then I didn't end up posting the video until later that night. I was going on a date with my girlfriend at the time, my now wife, and I was waiting for her to get dressed and get ready. And I said, you know what, let me post that video. Let me post it. It's kind of funny. So then as the night goes on, I start getting these TikTok notifications on my phone. And Annie sees it and she's like, hey, what is going on with your phone? I was like, well, I posted a video. I think it's kind of funny. And I look at the amount of views and all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's got 100 views. Cool. Oh, 1,000. Oh, 100,000. Oh, 1 million. And then it goes to 40 some million views. And I couldn't believe it. So I thought, well, one video worked. Let's do another video. And that one does really well as also. And then now 5 years later, this app and social media has completely changed my life. So I make a lot of content about what it's like to be a teacher, what it's like to work with kids. And it's opened up doors I never thought it would open up, between being on television, being on reality TV, being in different news publications. So I've just been incredibly lucky. And now people want to hear my message about what it's like to be a teacher and how you rediscover education, and that's how I'm here today and what brought me here. Right.
So I've just met you, right, and got to hear you talk and enjoyed the talk, but you had to be the right guy at the right time for all this to take off, and a little bit of luck goes into it too. And you also have to have the day job, right? Which is where you gain your knowledge and your experience to be able to talk with authority about these things. And then you have to have a message, right? And so I got to hear you talk. Say you started off that with the phrase again, rediscovering education, right? Which is great. So you have to have that message that you want to throw into that. But how do you? So I'm a guy that has never been on TikTok. I've never figured that out. I'm a little further ahead than you, so I wouldn't have been able to do what you did. But one video to have it just blow up like that had to just feel amazing. Yeah, it was amazing, and it was so interesting having the first one take off. And I think a lot of people who
have experience with social media, or whether you're novice or an expert with it, a lot of people have had a video go viral before. And then what do you do once a video goes viral? It's hard to make it a sustaining job, a sustaining career. And that's where, for me, I'm so lucky that I've been able to sustain it now 5 years into it, which is very challenging. It's hard to be creative and hard to come up with that stuff. And I think one of the reasons why it's been successful and why people want to hear my message is because I can relate to a lot of people. I can relate to the teacher. I can relate to the parent. I can relate to kids. I can relate to the adult who has no idea what these kids are saying. And we live in a time period where we also just want to laugh. Everything is so heavy right now in our world that they want to open up social media and just laugh and feel a sense of relief. And I think that's one of the reasons why my life is where it's at. And overnight fame can exist, but overnight success doesn't exist. Overnight success is a lifetime in the making. And there's so many skills and values that have been instilled in me that has made my life be successful. And I attribute a lot of that to my family and the community of South Dakota. There's so many values that our state brings that it's just, you can't put a price tag on what value that is. And that's one of the reasons why I've been able to have the life that I'm living.
Right. And you continue to show up in the classroom each day, which provides you with daily fodder for what you do in the social media world too. You made this statement, and I don't think you said it in your talk, but you've said that you don't want to leave this planet and think to yourself, what impact did you have on other people? How did that impact your decision with what you do?
Yeah, I always had this desire to do good and always had this desire to want to give back. And that's one of the values that was instilled in me early on by my parents. My dad is a lifelong teacher. My mom is a teacher in her own sort. She's a dance teacher. She's got her own dance studio. And they always talked about what's important is having an impact on people. There's so many material things that people fall in love with and want and desire to have, but that means nothing. I'll always remember the day that I was sitting and watching my follower count hit 1 million. I remember seeing it go from 99999 to a million.
Right.
And as a child, I would have thought when I would see that, I would feel incredible. That would be the best moment of my entire life.
You've made it.
And I sat there and I saw it go boom, 1 million, and thought, I got the same problems in my life. My life did not change tremendously because of this. Well, my life has changed, but it doesn't make you happy. It doesn't make it so, it doesn't give you what you think it would give you. So what fills my cup is giving back to people, having an impact in people's lives. And you won't always know that you have an impact in someone's life. They won't always tell you, but we should try. We should try to do that. And everybody has had people who make impacts in their life. So the listeners need to think, who are the ones that impacted my life? And then also think, did I ever tell that person that they impacted my life? As teachers, we oftentimes want people to tell us that we changed somebody's life, but we don't tell our former teachers that, or our counselors, or the neighbor who is living across the street that always had a smile on his face and showed us and modeled to us what it means to have joy. We don't always say thank you to those people or acknowledge it.
Absolutely. And you probably at one point in your life thought you were never going to be a teacher. This was not going to be your life. And I know for sure that I thought the same thing. And anybody who knows me and who I was at that young age was saying, there's no way you're a counselor at this point. What changed? How did you get hooked into this profession?
Initially, I thought I wanted to be a doctor. I thought I wanted to be a doctor all for the wrong reasons. I wanted the money. I wanted the cool title of saying, I'm a brain surgeon. I wanted to do that. And then I quickly learned two things. One, I don't do well with blood, which is a key thing you need to be a doctor. The second thing I learned, I wasn't smart enough, which is one of the major things that it takes to be a doctor. So then I thought to myself, all right, what do I care about and what do I want a career to be? I care about people and I want my career to be something where it's giving back to people. Well, shoot, be a teacher. That's it right there. And I like science. So let's teach teach about science.
Yeah.
And then that brought me into this profession. And a lot of people say kind of the cliche phrase of being an educator is a calling. Well, it really is. It really is a calling. People don't just fall into being a teacher.
Right.
Some people fall into selling insurance, fall into being a marketing person, or fall into being a salesperson. You have to be wired a certain type of way to be a teacher. And I'm wired that way. I love students. I love talking to them about science and trying to help them in their life.
Yeah. You mentioned that in your talk too, that you don't just fall into this position, and I think you said a third of all teachers right now at this point are thinking about getting out of the profession, and it's something that they're passionate about. And it's really sad that it's something that you have to make a conscious decision to go into. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, the stat that I saw online was a third of teachers in America are thinking about leaving their job. And that ends up being 900,000 teachers across America. So we have to ask why. Why is it? It isn't because teachers don't want to work hard. Teachers are so hardworking. Educators are hard workers.
Yeah.
So why would these people want to leave? It's because of 1,000 other factors. There's so many factors as to why they're leaving. And teachers that are listening to this, think about in your head, what makes me want to leave? Because I think as educators, we all have those days where you're like, man, maybe this isn't for me anymore. Maybe I should be part of that 900,000 that's thinking of leaving. And I think it's the pressure that we feel as teachers. It's the lack of funding that we feel in our schools. It's the political divide that we feel as teachers. I've been lucky enough to go on a lot of political morning shows and talk about just different things in education and talk about that. And there's so much divide. All these segments that I do, it's almost like it's pinning society against teachers or parents against teachers. And I want to say, no, we're on the same team here. We want what's good for the kid. We got to stop running with these crazy storylines of teachers are these evil people. Yeah, there are bad teachers, just like any profession. There are bad of whatever. There's some bad apples in every bunch. But most educators are great people that want to help students and help families, and we got to get back to that. We got to get back to talking about we are one unit that all wants to help kids, and that is going to bring everybody up.
Yeah. So once our kids hit middle school, and it was maybe the same when you were in middle school, and surely the same when I was, I would assume, but it seems like it's picked up speed and it's just taken off, but they speak a language all their own. And I don't know if the texting and the social media has played a part in that, but there's a kind of a revolving door of evolution about the whole thing. Once you catch up with a little bit of the speak, it changes again.
Yeah.
And then you have to hop into it again and figure out what they're talking about. Give us a short tutorial on what you know about what they say.
Middle schoolers nowadays have the power of the internet, which is great in some ways and not great in others. One of the things about students now is word spreads so fast across the internet. So a new trending word comes up, and very quickly, millions of middle schoolers now hear it, and they're going to adapt it into their vocabulary. Yeah. So some of the words that I'm sure a lot of parents hear at home are things like Riz, skibbity toilet, Ohio, Sigma. I mean, the list goes on. And if people are like me, they hear those and say, what in the world does that mean?
Yeah, like me.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it gives an opportunity to parents to relate to their kid and bond with their kid, where if they're in the car and all of a sudden their kid in the back seat says, wow, that sign is so Ohio skibbity toilet Sigma. Yeah. You can say, hey, what does that mean? Right. And talk about it. And in true middle school fashion, they will look at the adult and say, oh, you don't know what that means. You're so old. You're so cringy. Yeah. But you know what? At least you're having that communication. At least you're talking about it.
Whether they tell you what it means or not, you still have opened up some kind of a dialogue or communication.
And for the most part, the things that kids are saying right now are not wildly inappropriate, which is good. So when you hear these kids speak in their own hidden language, don't feel like, oh my gosh, they might be saying something that's so inappropriate. They're probably not. They're probably just being goofballs. And middle schoolers like having their own little language because it feels like it gives them that bit of individuality and
Absolutely.
independence, and that's what like a 13-year-old kid wants. They want to feel independent.
True.
And they can do that in their language.
Right, and we just have to give that to them. And I think that kind of leads to my next question in that most of it is very harmless. So my daughter is 16, and she's in high school, not junior high, but she came home last night, and the last thing she told my wife and I before we went to bed was that we were icons. and I assume icon means something good to me. And whether she meant something bad or not, I'm taking it as good.
Exactly.
And sleeping soundly on that. It felt good in that moment. It could have meant something totally
Usually
different.
the context clues will help guide you along. If they say it with a smile on their face, it's probably good. But if they say it scolding at you, maybe it's not a good thing.
Yeah, read the nonverbals, of course. And social media, has given us some of those things or helped it spread much more quickly. For all the good that does, and for all the ways that we want to incorporate that into what we're doing with kids and to bring them along and be a part of that ride with them to make it better, it can be pretty damaging in its own way too. Social media can have a pretty hard landing. And so what would you want to say to parents or our house parents, our staff here at St. Joe's? What would you say to them about a universe that can be brutal sometimes?
Social media is something that's so challenging to parents and to teachers. And I know so many parents will say, well, I don't want to expose my child to the bad parts of the internet, but I want them to feel connected. I don't want them to feel like they're socially outcasted. Like that's a hard battle for parents to face.
Right.
So the internet and social media can be such a great place where you can build community. I look at my social media platforms. We're across, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. I've got over 2 million followers. There's a community there. Yeah. It's been a lot of positive.
Right.
However, I know what it feels like when it starts going bad. I know those terrible messages and comments that you get where even for me as a full-grown adult who has built a big platform online, I still feel some type of way when I see a negative comment. It still hurts. I still feel, and I'm an adult,
right?
And I am flooded by thousands of other positives, but I always think about the one negative. So what do we tell a 13-year-old girl who sees a bad comment on Instagram about her or gets a mean Snapchat? It's hard. It gives parents the opportunity to have a conversation of telling them, hey, there are people out there that will try to bring you down. There definitely are. But you know what? Now you have the opportunity of what road are you going to take? Are you going to let that destroy you and ruin your day? Or are you gonna build off that, make you stronger, make you tougher? And one of the things that really changed how I viewed some of the negativity on social media early on was some advice that my dad gave me. And I remember seeing a couple negative comments and just people being mean. And I called my dad and talked about it. And he stopped and he goes, hey, you're not that special. I said, that doesn't make me feel better. What do you mean I'm not that special? And he said, you're not that special in a way of if they're going to say something negative to you, they're going to go to the next video and say something negative to them. And the next one and say something negative to them. So there's so many people who want to spread negativity to everybody and just kind of do a shotgun approach of spread it everywhere. So when these young people get faced with that negativity, it's good to remind them, hey, this isn't only about you. This isn't just you. It's not personal for you. There's something wrong with that person for spreading that negativity. So I'm not going to act like social media isn't a dangerous place. It definitely is. I definitely think there needs to be parent involvement in what you allow your kids to see and not see. There's a big difference between an 18-year-old on Instagram and a 9-year-old who's going on Instagram. Right. There's a huge maturity difference there. So I think parents should monitor what their kids are looking at. And there's so many parental features that they can access. And if a parent's listening to this saying, I don't know how to do that, go to YouTube, type in parental features for Snapchat or Instagram, and there'll be videos to help you walk through it. Because other parents know what it's like. And parents don't want to expose their kids to negativity.
Yeah. If you could tell us the most important thing for us to bring to our relationships to middle schoolers, to teenagers, the most misunderstood segment of our population for some, what would it be and how could we best accomplish it?
I think there's a couple ways to look at that question, and it's such a good question. I think we need to understand with middle schoolers, they are going through a lot. Their brains are like a ball of clay, and it is changing every single day. I see it so often as a teacher where their emotions are out of control and their hormones are up and down, and they feel different every day, and they look different every day. We just have to be understanding and understand it might be frustrating because we have our frontal lobes fully developed,
Absolutely.
but these kids don't.
Right.
They're kids. They're going to be goofballs. It's okay to let them be goofy.
Yeah.
It's okay to let them be goofy. Keep them in a box.
Yeah.
Make sure they're not causing any harm, but let middle schoolers be goofy.
Yeah.
It's kind of the thing that I want people to take away.
And help them understand that it's okay to be that way.
Because at one point, we were all goofy middle schoolers.
Yeah.
We all went through those weird phases when you go back and look at a picture when you were 13 and a half years old.
Right.
We all went through it.
Yeah, I just want to say, we say in the Lakota way, we say pilamia or wopila, which is a way of saying thank you for bringing your energy to St. Joe's and for bringing it to our studio here at Hochoka.
Well, thank you so much, Scott, for having me. And the things that you all are accomplishing here is incredible.
Yeah.
And you're changing lives, and you're making a better world.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here to do as people. So thank you so much, Scott.
Absolutely. Let's get out there and do it together.
Absolutely.
Sounds good. And for our viewers, thank you for joining us today at Hochoka at the center of St. Joseph's Indian School campus, where we talk about issues that are central to Native American education today. Until we see you next time, stay centered.